Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 50. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's very special guest, Julia Lera. Julia is a digital marketing consultant. Welcome, Julia.
Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background, because I think you've got a fascinating background of both entrepreneurship and employment in some really significant companies like MySpace and Facebook.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Argentina. I've been in the United States for the past 5 years. I randomly met my husband on a plane, and here's where I ended up living. And I worked for a bunch of internet, I work at eBay and MySpace and most recently Facebook. And right now I'm doing consulting. I have a little baby. So finding the balance of working, less hours and trying to be more present is a huge priority for me. So I've decided to go freelance and just work 20 hours a week. And it's working out really, really great. I mean, unfortunately, the companies in the United States are not super open to flexibility for women in the workforce or part-time schedules. So freelancing was just a perfect solution for me. And lucky me, my profession allows me to do that. I mean, of course, if you're a nurse or a doctor, you need to be present for your patients. But luckily, my profession allows me to work remotely, which has been super helpful.
Excellent. And I think it's interesting that you say you're a fairly new mother. And one of the things that I've discussed with women in the past is that becoming a mother has really helped them prioritize the important stuff in their business and really focus on the big things. And it's helped them a lot with time management. So can you share anything about how becoming a mother has changed you and your business?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I've done consulting before when I was young and single. And the biggest mistake I made is that I took way too many clients. I was incredibly busy. And of course, I was doing really good money, so it was good. But then I was all day at home in my pajamas, working. Sometimes I would skip lunch. And now I'm really focused on just getting the right clients, which means not only clients that pay, but also clients that I enjoy working with. So when I go pitch clients and I meet with them, I really focus on thinking, okay, do I like this person? Am I going to enjoy working with them? Are they crazy? And can they pay? And then I'm really focused on getting to those meetings that really add value. So if I'm invited to a meeting that I know it's going to be all fluff and just nothing is going to come out of it, I respectfully decline and I just focus on my work. And just working these 20 hours, I'm really good at separating those hours and making sure, okay, I have childcare those hours. I don't have my child running around me. So I can really focus on my work, get everything done. And then by the time I'm done, I'm all for her.
That's excellent. I think that's really such an ideal situation, isn't it? Having the focus that you need to get the work done in the least amount of time and then having the rest of your time to dedicate to your child.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, full-time schedules at a work office environment, sometimes, there's a lot of wasteful hours. There's a lot of time that you spend on meetings that don't really mean much. And you're just filling out a lot of hours. Mm-hmm. And I feel like your part-time schedule sometimes gives you the real focus that you need. You actually get more done, or even the same that you would have done had you been on a full-time schedule.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important what you said about getting the right clients for you and your business. Because when you do meet with a client for the first time, it kind of goes both ways. They're trying to see if you're the right fit for them, but you're also trying to see if they're the right fit for you. And I think, as you said before, you're getting loads of clients and the first time you worked freelance, but it was just too much, and some of them probably weren't exactly your ideal client.
Yeah.
And so what was it that helped you kind of hone in on what your ideal client is and how to recognize that?
I think like having worked at Facebook was really helpful because my role there was being an account manager. So I was working with a lot of clients from all different industries. So I was just helping them, with their social media programs. So I got to, I didn't get to pick them. So I, whatever my boss assigned me to work, I will work. So it was really weird to try to build relationships with people that, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed working with. But it was also a really helpful experience because, I sort of learned how to bridge cultural differences and, just keep pushing and building relationships, even though some clients would by default hate us just because they, didn't understand the platform or they just didn't really get social media or they didn't like it. But, maybe their boss would assign them to work on it. Or sometimes the site was a little buggy. So I was the recipient of a lot of complaints. So I feel like that helped me grow a lot as a professional and really understand, okay, this is business. This is not personal. And, at the same time, trying to build a business relationship, keep pushing. But now, I get to pick a little bit more. I know, what kind of characters, are more compatible with my personality. And I know that we're going to work well. Something that happens in the Bay Area where I'm based, in the Silicon Valley area in San Francisco, is that there's a lot of entrepreneurs. There's so many startups. Everybody has a startup and everybody has this $1 million idea. And there's a lot of people with crazy ideas that I could do marketing for and just get the money. But I don't believe in their product or their idea. They're just plain old crazy. And I also look at that. If I know that there's not a lot of potential, I don't feel it, then I also don't work with them.
I think it's important what you said about not feeling it. I think so many times we feel instinctively that a particular client isn't right for us, but then we think, oh, no. In our head, our mind kind of kicks in and says, no, it's money, they're a client.
Yeah.
You've really got to go with the gut feeling sometimes, don't you?
Yeah. And, sometimes you need the money and you just need to be professional and maybe do the work and separate your emotions and just try to thinking of, okay, this is business, and be super methodical about your approach and, your reports and how, you do your projects and just, do it. Because sometimes in this economy, sometimes you do need the work and you can do it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today, because you originally studied journalism and education and then from there launched into this whole online marketing world. How did that happen?
It was sort of happen. I mean, honestly, what I really love is writing, and I do that on my spare time. I like fiction and essays, and I'm also focused on nurturing that part of me, which I feel is super important. But I sort of got into this job. My first job was at eBay, and right out of school, I just tried it and ended up helping with marketing, and I found that it was something interesting that I could learn, and it wasn't, super hard, and I could see results, and I could show that it was working. So it was sort of by chance, and as I started doing it, I kept doing it, and business came, it's good business. So, and I don't hate it. I actually like it. I enjoy it, and it pays the bills and it helps me spend time with my family, and also I have a little bit extra time to work on my literature.
Excellent. So I have a quick question. For me, it was a huge challenge because before, as you know, and as my listeners will know, I had another company in the hospitality industry, and part of my role within that was marketing, particularly online marketing. Then I left, started this business, and now it was all about marketing me. And that was a huge challenge for me because while I was very much emotionally invested in my previous company, it was a company, it wasn't me. And I know that a lot of our listeners struggle with that whole, how do I market myself, and stuff about being visible online. Did you have any challenges going from marketing for other companies and then to marketing your own services?
Yeah, and you also, I mean, you're definitely selling yourself. So not only you're a marketer, but you're a salesperson for your own services. So in the first when I started consulting like many years ago, I went all out and I had a blog and a Twitter and Facebook and I had everything. And in the end, it was a lot of work producing all that content. And I think it is really helpful if you're consistent and if you write like really valuable content. But in the end, what I found super helpful for me was really focusing on LinkedIn. So I do have a website that I update, with my services and, the clients I'm working on, just like pretty basic. It's pretty much one page. And then what I'm focusing right now is on LinkedIn. So things that I do is like I'm really careful about adding the right keywords to my LinkedIn profile and having a pretty clear, consistent sort of value proposition of what my business is and what I bring. So other companies or recruiters can find me easily. And then another trick that I do is like if I keep it updated, like if I update just a little piece or I like an article or any update that you do on your LinkedIn will bring your profile up in the search results. So just to keep your profile active and relevant, it's super useful to be active on the site.
I think that's so important. Do you also participate in a lot of groups on LinkedIn?
I am in a bunch of groups. Mostly, I am in a few of like entrepreneur women in the Bay Area that I attend some networking events. There are some digital marketing groups that I attend to, but they're mostly post, of congresses, events that are coming up. Other thing that I'm doing is like I'm meeting with other fellow consultants in San Francisco. It's been really helpful because some of us are pretty busy and there's a lot of work coming up, but we don't have enough capacity. So we sort of refer to each other. And sometimes I have a question and, I reach out to them. So I found like a smaller group has been more helpful than a larger LinkedIn group.
Interesting. And I think that's also very useful what you said about meeting with other consultants like you to provide support for each other.
Yeah, I mean, like something that has been in my mind is like, okay, how do I manage vacation? Because I ran marketing campaigns, I sort of need to keep running. Yeah. So one of the challenges is like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Because I have campaigns. I can't just stop everything and go on vacation and then, all my clients' leads and go down. So something I've been thinking is like, okay, maybe it'll be helpful to, partner with other consultants and maybe we can cover for each other or something like that. And, trying to like find ways of collaborating. It can be tricky because I know that there's, some people can be super competitive or, they may not be, so close to you that you trust them so much. So I'm trying to meet with people like I really enjoy working that I've worked with in the past to see if we can establish like a little mini network so we can cover for each other.
I think that's an excellent idea, and I think that's something it's not relevant to every business, but it's certainly relevant to people that work with other businesses. I mean, how do you cover, So I think that's an excellent idea about forming kind of a little co-op of people who trust each other and can call upon each other to get help when it's time to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I have a question. One of the things that everyone seems to be complaining about, and I wrote a whole blog post about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, is Facebook. Now, as we all know, Facebook had its IPO, when was that? Over a year and a half ago? And of course they need to monetize and, wouldn't be a viable business if they didn't. But so many people seem to be taking it personally. And, that now it's kind of a pay to play thing for businesses on Facebook. And so many people are just complaining and whining and leaving Facebook for other random social media sites when really Facebook is a fantastic social media site, even if you have to pay for it. What would your recommendations be for people who, are on the fence about what to do? Because it does require an investment now, but that doesn't mean that you have to leave and go elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, there has been a couple of things going on. One of it is that the network is really growing.
Mm-hmm.
So the more friends you have, the more brands you like, or public figures that you like, there's more competition of content getting into your newsfeed. So Facebook keeps tweaking the algorithm so they show you what they think could be more relevant for you based on what you have liked in the past, what you have commented in the past or share, what your friends are engaging with. So, their main focus is to make that newsfeed as engaging as possible. So what that means is that if you have a page and you have been updating and you don't have enough reach, you may need to pay to get into that newsfeed. Just because, there's so many other things that people are looking at. And quite honestly, if my sister posts a picture of my nephew, that's what I'm engaging with, and probably not with some company content.
Yeah.
And it is reality. I mean, the site is a social network for friends, and brands are trying to play there, but it is hard to get people's attention. So you either need to be super funny or do something super useful. And sometimes it's just tricky. It's just really tricky for brands to get into people's attention. I mean, it's different when you're talking about Google search because I'm searching for something, I'm showing specific intent. In this case, people are doing something else, like stalking pictures of friends or former boyfriends. And then, suddenly this brand is pushing content. So it is a little bit of a balance. And the good thing is that there's no minimum. So you can really just sponsor this one content that you think is going to do great, and you don't need to put millions of dollars behind it. It can be pretty small, and then what you do is you focus on targeting the right people. So the great thing about it is that there's so many ways of slicing and dicing the data that you can really get to people that are going to enjoy your content. So that's going to make your content even more appealing, and your CTRs should be higher because you're reaching people that actually enjoy your content.
And I think what you said was really, really important about Facebook, of course, being a social network. People are going on there to engage with friends and family and people that they know, not necessarily with businesses. And if businesses go on there thinking like marketers and thinking like business people, they might not be as successful as they would be if they, start thinking more like a friend.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned is that Facebook, of course, is constantly changing its algorithm. And they're doing that to try to show you the most relevant and interesting, or at least what it thinks you will find most relevant and interesting. And of course, they're doing this with the best interests of their users in mind, not necessarily the marketers. So how would you recommend that people kind of go with the flow on this? Because I know a lot of people are really frustrated about algorithm changes, and they just, get stuck in thinking one way and don't know how to kind of shift to a different type of marketing. So what would your recommendations be about that?
It's a tricky one. I feel like, my work has been focusing on performance advertising on Facebook, which is super tricky because I want results from my ads that I place on newsfeed. So what I really focus is in targeting the right people. Just if you try to be as relevant as possible for the right audience, then your chances of them engaging are much higher. Then there's a couple of tips that they're around, of what type of content resonates better. And ultimately, it ends up being similar to, those BuzzFeed quizzes and and there's those are super viral. And then there's the way you write the articles, kind of teasing your content, but not really giving it away. So there's this latest trend of saying oh, what happened next? You would have never imagined. And then you have to click through to read the article. So you don't need to be that cheesy, but trying to give a really quick tease without giving everything away and making me wonder. That tends to be very helpful. Always adding images that resemble those images that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for images of my family, my friends. So always try to add people and try to avoid stock images that are too, stuffy.
Yeah.
And try to go with real images of your products, or ideally of people using your products or enjoying your services.
That is excellent advice. Because again, as you say, people are not looking to engage with stock photos, because they look so corporate and boring, and I think we've all seen them 1,000 times. So it just doesn't catch our attention.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you said, it all goes back to targeting and getting the right clients for you. But I think one of the things that so many people struggle with, especially when they're starting out in business, is who are the right clients for me? Who are my ideal clients? Who do I want to work with? And how do I target? I'm running an online social media course right now, and one of the first things that I talked about was keywords, because I keep going on and on and on about keywords throughout the entire rest of the course. And a lot of the women really, really struggled coming up with the right keywords for their business.
Right.
What would be your tips for trying to find, the best keywords for your business, and how to really get into the head of your ideal client and how they might be searching for you?
I usually use the AdWords keyword planner to find those keywords. So even if you don't pay for AdWords, you sign up for an account and you go to tools, and then there's the AdWords keyword planner. And it's a super useful tool because it tells you volume, like average search volume for certain keywords. And then it actually suggests other keywords that people are actually typing. So that gives you a pretty good idea. So I've had businesses where a person that comes up with new products that I would have explained to him is like, listen, your product, nobody's actually searching for your products because people don't know that they need them yet. What you're bringing to the market is a novelty, something new. So for you, it's actually better to go on something like Facebook because you put it in front of the right audience as opposed to search. Because he was a little bummed that he didn't have a lot of search volume on the keywords that he was looking at. And so that's something that you can consider. I mean, depending on what you do. But the AdWords keyword planner has been super helpful. You can also look at Google Trends, and then you can see how much people are paying for paid search if that's something that you are thinking of doing.
That's excellent. Yeah. And I think a lot of people need to kind of make that distinction of what's right for them, whether it's paid search in Google or whether it's, Facebook or where they need to be based on how their clients are going to be looking for them.
Yeah, definitely. And then having a very simple website and using Google Analytics is tremendously helpful because you can see exactly how people are searching for you. And now it's a little trickier now that Google search now has a login, so there's a lot of anonymous data. But if you use Google Webmaster Tools and you link that to your Google Analytics, you are able to see more of those keywords that people are actually typing to get to your website. I mean, it's kind of the chicken and the egg situation because if you have a new website, then you don't have a lot of traffic. But as your audience starts growing, you should always look at that and where your traffic is coming and how people are searching for you.
That's excellent. Now, for someone who's maybe just getting started in business or has never had their own business before and, they've got their niche, they've got their services and products all lined up, what would be your top tips on how to get started planning a digital marketing strategy?
I would definitely, personally, I did both offline and online. So attending the right meetups and the right events is usually super helpful because you meet people in person. So the mistake that I made before years ago is that I was going to a digital marketing events. And I don't get clients from there. I get colleagues from there. So what I need to do is if I'm helping startups is go to all the startup events. So if you're helping, let's say you're helping dentists by your digital marketing for dentists, then you need to go to the dentist conference and events and not to digital marketing. So just trying to get to those groups, joining those groups on LinkedIn that your audience tends to hang out at. I think that's super helpful. And you can do that both online and offline.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's such a good idea because I'm a huge introvert, so I tend to naturally gravitate towards online networking.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for me energetically, but I forget about offline networking sometimes, and so it's been really, really important for me to bring that into my marketing and kind of networking mix this year.
Yeah, it's hard to put yourself out there. I'm also an introvert, and I go to this monthly Women 2.0 event That is, it's around the globe, so it's in several cities. You guys should check it out. And there's always like inspiring women talking about how they started and all the mistakes they made. It's super helpful. And so I'm super shy, so usually I will just go and hear the speaker and then just, I will probably go home. So now I've been pushing myself into meeting at least 3 people. And then once I meet these 3 people randomly, then I'm free to go. Go with business cards and, just put yourself out there, because all the other people are in your same situation. I mean, they're all, just there by themselves or maybe with a friend and trying to meet people. So, it is expected that everybody's going kind of through the same thing, so you can laugh about it and, meeting interesting people that can result into business. Like the first time I went, I actually ended up meeting an angel investor that works with a lot of startups in the Bay Area. So he's been introducing me to a bunch of his clients, which has been super helpful.
Excellent. And I think that's great what you said about setting yourself a goal of at least 3 people for each meeting. Because as you said, it's so easy to just kind of go and get into the habit of, not putting yourself out there and stepping outside of your comfort zone. So it's very, very important. So, Julia, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Let's see. It is a hard one because a lot of women that are very successful in business have been super focused on that and like being like super full time. Well, my point of view is like being a little more laid back and trying to find a balance between my personal life and my work life. So I don't think I have yet to find somebody that, that has that point of view. Of course I have read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg and all of those women that are like super powerful in business, or even like Hillary Clinton and people like that. But my personal take on that is that they put their heart and their lives into their careers, and they have no minute for relaxation. And I find that that's not what I want for myself. So I don't know. It's a tricky question. I don't think I have one that I super admire or I would like follow in that sense.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times the women who have found, that great balance between a successful business and a happy family often aren't always as visible.
Yeah.
I think for me, the great example is Leonie Dawson, because she works 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, and has a very 7-figure business and, a super happy family. But I think there are very, very few examples like that.
Yeah, there's very few examples. I feel like it is a really hard balance for women to have a successful career, to be in business, to keep pushing, and to also, enjoy your family, because, kids are going to be kids for only a few years, and then soon enough they're going to be teenagers and they're going to hate you. So, you better just enjoy it now. I can work later. Maybe when I'm in my 50s and my kids hate me, then I'll have an amazing career.
And then they'll move out and you won't ever see them.
Yeah, but I'll be so busy.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You have such amazing tips, and I think it's really, really inspiring for other women in business, to just get out there and market themselves more online, because it can be so, so powerful.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be a part of your podcast.
Thank you. And so could you let us know where people can find you online so that they can check you out and maybe learn a little bit more about what you do and how they might benefit from working with you, or perhaps they know a company that might need your services?
Yeah, I think I know it's not perfect, but I encourage you to check out my LinkedIn profile just to see how I laid out my keywords and my value proposition. I feel like it's a good layout, and it's been working out. Pretty much most of my clients come from LinkedIn. So I encourage you to search for me on LinkedIn and add me up. If you have any questions, I'm happy to follow up. And then I have my super simple WordPress website that is julialera.com that you can check out. It was a simple WordPress with a theme that I purchased for not too many dollars. And it was super easy to update, and you can check out how I laid out. Maybe that's helpful for people to copy.
Yeah, and I love the way your website is so simple. It says what it needs to say. It clearly expresses what you do. You've got, logos from your clients on there so you can get a feel for what types of businesses you work with. And it doesn't have too much stuff. It's not cluttered. It just says what it needs to say, and that's it. And then it's got a contact.
Yeah. At first I had several pages explaining what each service was, but I was like, well, this doesn't add anything. It was a lot of fluff, so I just streamlined it to one page. That's it. I mean, if you want to know more, here's my LinkedIn, and here's a contact form. And I think that's all you need, unless you really focus on content marketing, which I know it works. And then you would add a blog page, where you can update, and then you can, I think it's super helpful to put your posts on LinkedIn too, as they can get pretty good attention from the right people.
And I think that's also really important what you just said about how you mostly get your clients from LinkedIn, so that's where you're focusing most of your time, rather than on other people who perhaps get most of their clients from their website, and so they need to do the content marketing to attract people to their website.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really depends on the industry. Just like my industry works this way, but I find there might be other networks, if you work with writers or psychoanalysts, you will probably do something different. But honestly, just LinkedIn has been super helpful. So I don't even use Twitter or even Facebook. I mean, even though I super believe in it for my B2C clients, I think for them it's super good, but I just don't do it for myself.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to focus on. You've got to do what works for you and your business and not pay attention to all of the thousands of people out there saying that you must do Twitter, you must do Facebook, you must do XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what works right for you. Good. Well, thank you again for joining us, and it was such a pleasure to speak with you, and I could probably pick your brain all day here, but we don't want this to go too far over time. So thanks again.
No, thanks to you, Holly, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Excellent. And thank you for listening, and remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP50 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.